Welcome back, everyone. I'm Ian, and I'm here with Professor Michelle.
Hi.
I want to share a letter we received from a listener named Ellie. Professor and Ian, I've been struggling lately with a constant sense of falling behind. Every time I open my phone, I see people my age hitting milestones I haven't even started, buying homes, getting promoted, or just looking incredibly happy in photos. It's reached a point where I feel a physical knot of anxiety in my stomach before I even unlock my screen. I know intellectually that social media isn't real life, but emotionally, I feel like I'm failing at a race everyone else is winning. Is there something wrong with how I'm wired, or is the internet actually changing how I feel about myself?
Ellie, thank you so much for being in touch with us. Your thoughts and feelings are definitely ones that we can all relate to.
I know I certainly can.
That physical knot Ellie mentioned is so telling. It's a natural reaction to an invisible pressure. Ellie, you aren't wired wrong. You're experiencing a very modern, hypercharged version of a very old human instinct.
It sounds like Ellie's describing the internal engine of the social comparison theory. Why is Ellie's brain telling her she's failing when she's really just looking at a phone screen?
All right, let's go back a bit to 1954 when Leon Festinger first proposed the social comparison theory. His core idea was that humans have a literal drive to evaluate themselves. And since we can't always do that objectively, we look to others to see how we're doing.
Right? And didn't Festinger break it down into two main types, upward and downward comparison?
Yes. Tell us about the difference.
Okay. Upward comparison is when we look at someone we perceive as better or more successful. It can be motivating, but usually it just makes us feel inferior.
So when I look at Facebook and see all of my contacts posting pictures of the wonderful, nutritious dinner that they are elegantly preparing for their family, and I look at the air fried pre made chicken fingers that I just threw onto a plate for dinner, I feel bad about myself because based on the social media posts, it looks like they do dinner and life so much better than I do it.
Well, I don't know about that. I love chicken fingers. This also sounds like what Ellie described in her letter.
Yes, it does. Now, what is the downward comparison?
So, downward comparison is looking at those who are worse off to boost our own ego.
Okay, so if I go to an exercise class with people who have just had knee replacements and see that they're having a hard time moving and keeping up, I feel good about myself because I'm so strong and fit and able to move so well.
Wait, why would you go to a fitness class with a bunch of folks that are recovering from knee surgery?
To make up for how bad I feel about myself for serving such a horrible meal the night before, I guess. Now, in 1954, when Festinger started to study this concept, your comparison group was your neighbor, your coworker, or your cousin. Your circle was small. But now, with social media, suddenly your comparison group isn't just the person sitting next to you at Sunday dinner. It's a billionaire in Dubai, a fitness influencer in LA, or a former classmate who's only posting their highlight reel.
That's the highlight reel effect. We're comparing our behind the scenes, so our messy kitchens and Monday morning blues, to everyone else's polished, filtered best of moments.
Yeah, we are. Sometimes we're comparing ourselves to people who make a living at presenting themselves in a perfect image on social media.
And how is that impacting our overall mental health?
Well, this leads us to the darker territory of mental health. When we constantly engage in upward social comparison on platforms like Instagram or TikTok, we trigger a deficit mindset.
It's like a constant drip of not enough, not successful enough, not fit enough, not social enough.
Right. Research consistently links this chronic upward comparison to increased symptoms of anxiety and depression, which often stems from the internalized belief that our lives are fundamentally lacking compared to the norm we see on screen.
Which isn't really a norm.
Correct.
And let's talk about the obsessive scrolling or doom scrolling. Why do we keep looking if it makes us feel bad?
When doom scrolling, which is the compulsive, endless consumption of negative news or social media posts, people aren't always looking for enjoyment. Many times they're searching for a resolution to uncertainty or a sense of safety or confirmation of their fears.
So it sounds like doom scrolling is just a coping mechanism driven by the brain's desire to feel prepared, like the slot machine effect, where the anticipation of the next piece of news triggers a hit of dopamine.
We know that the neurotransmitter dopamine is associated with pleasure. And as we get a hit of dopamine while scrolling, it can become addictive because of its variable rewards.
Which means there is an uncertainty of what the next headline will be.
Exactly. This process keeps the brain engaged just like a slot machine.
Oh, wow. You mentioned that doom scrolling may give a person a sense of control. How does that work?
By staying up to date on potential threats like weather-related issues or disasters or economic crises, we attempt to manage our anxiety incorrectly, thinking that if we stay on top of all of this terrible news, we will be better prepared to survive it.
I feel like when I get into this type of behavior, the scrolling is endless and the bad news is constant, and I don't get closure, and I feel like I'm trapped in a loop.
What were you searching for the last time you found yourself getting trapped?
I found myself getting trapped concerning the recent uprise of gas prices.
Your brain was trying to find the end of the crisis, but it didn't come, so you kept searching.
It can be so frustrating. You also said that we doom scroll as a confirmation to our fears. What did you mean?
Well, if a person is already feeling stressed or anxious or depressed, they may unconsciously seek out negative news that matches how they already feel.
We try to find a confirmation for why we feel bad. I found myself doing this the other day. I was kicking myself when I was window shopping for a new pair of shoes, and based on the prices, I couldn't afford them. When I saw a post someone made mentioning their stress about their financial insecurity, I pretty quickly got stuck in this loop of people who were freaking out about money. I wanted to match what others felt, even though it was negative to how I was feeling.
Right. We feel better if we have a concrete reason for feeling down in the dumps. And we like to know that there are other people in the same situation.
So basically, doom scrolling is not about learning through social media posts. It's a neurological loop designed to calm an anxious brain that feels out of control in an uncertain world.
Perfect summary.
There's a lot more biology behind this behavior, right?
Should we get into the neurobiology of it all?
I think we should. I was a little freaked out when I got my screen report yesterday.
Most of that screen time was for studying, though, right?
Of course.
We often call dopamine the pleasure chemical, but that's a bit misleading in this case. In the context of scrolling, dopamine isn't about the joy of the content, it's about the anticipation.
Right. When you flick your thumb to refresh a feed, your brain doesn't know what's coming. My feed can go from a funny cat video to a stressful news update to even a like on my own photo. It's very quick.
That uncertainty is the key. It's a reward prediction error mechanism. It goes back to what we talked about with the slot machine's variable ratio reinforcement schedule.
Because the reward is unpredictable, the brain releases a surge of dopamine before you even see the content, just to motivate you to keep looking.
You know, my dad used to buy me a lottery ticket for my birthday every year. It was only a $2 gift, but it consumed me in such an exciting way until the big moment of the drawing, which was usually 2 or 3 days after he gifted me the lottery ticket. Now, during those couple of days of waiting to see if I would actually become a billionaire, I felt incredibly optimistic and stayed busy planning how I would spend the money. It was the anticipation that kept me pumped full of dopamine.
Did you ever win? I'm guessing not since you're not living in Monaco right now.
I did win, and I spent all of my $7 in one day.
How does the brain get involved with this behavior?
There are 3 specific parts of the brain that get hijacked during an obsessive scrolling session. The nucleus accumbens, which is the reward center. This is where the dopamine hits hardest. It creates that craving to see one more post or the pursuit of a reward.
Even if you aren't actually enjoying them anymore?
Right. The prefrontal cortex is that area that handles impulse control and decision making, and that high-speed scrolling can actually fatigue this region. It's why you might tell yourself, I'll stop in 5 minutes, and then 40 minutes pass without you even noticing.
You know, I lose track of time a lot when I'm on social media. My breaks essentially go offline.
Unfortunately, yes. The amygdala is our emotional alarm, and for someone like Ellie, the amygdala is working overtime. When she sees those better lives, this region triggers a stress response, releasing cortisol, which creates that physical knot of anxiety.
It's a perfect storm. Your reward center is screaming, more! Your impulse control is exhausted, and your emotional center is feeling threatened by social comparison.
Ugh, it's so much happening all at once. Also, the more we bombard our brains with these quick hits, the less sensitive our receptors become. It's called dopamine desensitization.
So eventually, normal life, like reading a book or having a slow, relaxed dinner, starts to feel boring or understimulating because it doesn't provide that hyper-fast dopamine spike.
That's why Ellie feels like she's falling behind. Her brain is being conditioned to operate at a speed and a level of comparison that reality simply can't match.
So how do we break the circuit?
Well, I think the first step is cognitive reappraisal. When you see that perfect vacation photo of someone else on your social media, you have to remind yourself, am I seeing this person's reality or a snippet of a moment?
So I'm looking at my Instagram right now. When I see a post that I feel I'm doing that upward comparison to, I should talk to myself and...
Wouldn't it be fun to make a humorous comment on the post after you give yourself a good talking to?
Like, love this episode of Everything is Perfect. Can't wait for the bloopers.
Or, how about this one? So when does the actual story drop?
Ooh, I like the sound of this one. How does love how reality took a day off for this one?
We should have a social media post comeback contest.
We would love to hear your best heartfelt social media responses to posts that are less than authentic. Send them to weshouldprobablytalkpodcast@gmail.com.
So the next step is to stop the comparison.
Professor Michelle, we often tell people to just get off their phones, but that isn't realistic.
Yeah, so instead we might try a digital audit. Look at your following list. If a profile consistently makes you feel less than, uninspired, or envious, mute or unfollow immediately. So to do this, you have to be aware of and honest with your feelings.
So the goal is to curate a feed that mirrors your values, not your insecurities.
Absolutely. I recently got a good tip when I realized that I was involved in a group chat that was causing me to feel unhappy. I used the mute button because in this case I knew I couldn't block or unfollow without some drama.
Good pro tip. What's the suggestion to stop the doom scroll?
And doom scrolling thrives on a lack of friction. The infinite scroll is designed to keep us moving. To break this, we need to reintroduce physical hurdles. Since you're 1,000 times more tech savvy than me, how do you think we should do that?
We could move social media apps off the home screen and into a labeled folder and name the folder Time Wasters.
Ooh, love it.
We could even try setting our phone display to grayscale. Without the dopamine hit of bright red notifications and colorful photos, the scrolling becomes boring very quickly.
That is super easy too. When we enter a doom scroll, we lose our stopping cues. So, set a physical timer, not on your phone app, which can be ignored easily, for 20 minutes of consumption. When it dings, you switch to a high dopamine physical task, like a quick walk or a snack.
Professor, I know some people who have tried a digital fasting. What is that and how would it work?
The goal for digital fasting is a strategic dopamine recalibration. Digital fasting is a timed abstinence designed to reset the brain's reward threshold.
This fasting will be beneficial because the constant notifications keep us in a state of high tonic dopamine. When we stop, we feel bored or anxious because our baseline has shifted too high.
Correct. So by removing the stimulus, we allow dopamine receptors to downregulate, making real-world activities like reading a book or having a conversation during a relaxed dinner feel rewarding again.
How do we start the digital fasting?
We can do this in 3 levels.
I'm ready.
I think the easiest way to start level 1 is the 12-hour dark window. No screens from, let's say, 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. And this protects our internal clock from blue light and ensures the first thing you process in the morning is your own thoughts, not an algorithm's.
That's not too hard.
All right, so here's level 2. Once a week, implement a full 24-hour fast. This is where the source monitoring errors we've discussed before start to clear up. Without the constant input of social media, your brain begins to better distinguish between its own internal narratives and the external noise it's been consuming. We want to go back to thinking on your own.
Good plan. I recently put my phone into red light mode to help me stay away from it. What's the 3rd level?
So every few months, do a 3 to 7 day fast to break deep-seated behavioral conditioning. This is the hard reset for the prefrontal cortex.
That might be hard.
For sure, but let's make this more practical and put in some mechanical steps.
Practical is what I need since I'm feeling worried about doing this.
Okay, so first, make the announcement. Tell your key contacts, your family, work, you're going dark to prevent any ghosting anxiety.
Got it.
Second, have alternatives in place. You must replace the digital habit with a physical one. So if you usually scroll at 7 a.m., have a physical book or a journal ready on your nightstand.
That's doable.
Lastly, when you feel the phantom vibration or the urge to check your phone, don't fight it. Observe it. Acknowledge that your brain is looking for a dopamine hit and wait for the wave to pass.
All right, I got it. So to summarize digital fasting, here are the components and their definitions. Component 1, objective, to lower the brain's dopamine baseline. Component 2, primary rule, total abstinence from non-essential digital screens like your phone, TV, or laptop. 3rd component, the key benefit, improved attention span and reduced social anxiety. And the 4th component, the boredom factor. This is essential. Boredom is the signal that the brain is recalibrating.
You got it. And Ellie, thank you for your question today. This was definitely something that we should probably talk about.
You can find us on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify podcasts. And if you have any questions for us, feel free to email us at weshouldprobablytalk@, podcast@gmail.com.